What's going on, everybody? This is your man, Dr. John C. Turner, aka the Professor JT, and we are here with the Doc Chat bonus episode of how to navigate the doctorate journey. I got some heavy hitters right here. I always got to come with the voices for the people. I got Dr. Ariana Stokes and Dr. Janier Hankerson. They today are coming with a PhD and EDD, but about to tell you how you can get your doctorate degree. Y'all better let somebody know. We are on the Doc Chat right now. If you are checking us out, if you got your doctorate degree, if you're in a doctorate program, let us know where you got your degree from. Let us know what program you're in. I'm telling you, we're going to have a lot of fun tonight because this is the show for somebody just about to start their doctorate degree. You are just about to hit that go button, and you're like, how do I do this? How do I really do this? That's why I got them here today. So without further ado, we're going to introduce these great doctors. Dr. Ariana Stokes, you are here on the Doc Chat. Let everybody know a little bit about yourself. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me. Thank you for having me, Dr. Turner. Like he said, I am Dr. Ariana Stokes. I received my PhD in Urban Higher Education Administration from Jackson State University, the I Love, in 2020. And my research study focused on faculty perceptions of persistence among African American students enrolled in distance education courses in community colleges. So now at present, I'm still working in the higher education sector, and my focus is e-learning and community college situations.
We love it. We love it. Dr. Janier Hankerson, she is here with us. Welcome to the Doc Chat. Let the folks know a little about yourself.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me. My name is Dr. Janier Hankerson. I received my Doctorate of Education from Drexel University. My concentration was in human resource development, where we focused on employee training and employee management. And my dissertation was about how teachers can use stand-up and improv in the classroom to increase student engagement.
We love it. We love it. Folks are checking in. Dr. Woody, my God, he said he's pumped ready to hear from these great docs. I am too. That's why we're here tonight. That's why we're here. We see the folks checking in. Dr. Michael Jones, we appreciate you. St. Louis. Hey, what's going on, Dr. Du Bois? Trevecchia, Nazarene. Look at here. We got my guy, Dr. Elliott. You about to get done soon, sir. I appreciate you over there at Walden University. And look at here. This is what it's about right here. Starting in 3 weeks, you got this, Doc. You got this. I'm telling you, everybody that's checking us out, make sure you let us know where you're at, where you get your doctors at, because people are looking and trying to figure out how to do this thing. So we're going to jump into this conversation. So Dr. Stokes, why Jackson State? Why the doctorate degree? Why go get it? Why do it? And how did you feel stepping into the classroom that very first day when it was time for you to get your doctorate started?
Okay, that is a lot. So let me first say, before I started my PhD, I had just wrapped up my master's, and I was actually trying to get out of the K-12 system. And part of it was I wanted to leave Mississippi, and then the other part was I'm trying to figure out what am I doing next in my career. I wanted to function in more of a leadership capacity and not, teach anymore, and instruction just wasn't my thing. And so I kind of came to a crossroads, and I mentioned this in the book that I wrote, that I was trying to figure out what it was. And not haphazardly, but I kind of stumbled across the program. And one of my mentors that finished the program recently. And so I did a little bit of research, and I said, if it's in the Lord's will, then I'll be entering this program this fall. And that's how it happened. I was, teaching in JPS, so Jackson Public School District. I received my undergraduate degree from Jackson State, and it just felt right. It felt like home. I felt like I could get the right kind of support at Jackson State. I felt like I had the right connections to be successful in the program at Jackson State, and that was proven to be true. Now, the first day of, not even the first day of class, orientation. Orientation was so overwhelming.
Tell us about it. Tell us about it.
Like I said, I was in K-12, and I was just so overwhelmed. My PhDs in urban higher education, I was trying to transition field, so to speak. And we were just having these conversations and the tour in the facility. And when I say a breath of emotions came over me, and I went in the corner and I was just crying. And I'm like, Lord, you got me here, but I don't know if I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And
That's real.
so our director of recruitment and enrollment, she like pulled me to the side. We had a conversation, and she was very reaffirming, and so that helped me calm my nerves a little bit. But initially, I was terrified. I was like, I always wanted a PhD, but I'm not so sure anymore. So yeah.
That's the real talk right there, real talk. Now, Dr. Hankerson, looking at that EDD, why go do it? Why go that route? Why did you decide to go get your doctor? And what was your life like that first day or around that first day when you realized, oh, I'm in this thing?
Well, I decided to get it. I had just finished my master's, and like I just knew I was going to be done. Like that's it. I'm done with everything. And then I found myself out of work, and I had just moved, and I needed something to, I guess, concentrate on, and I needed to take my career in a different direction. So I started applying to a couple of different schools. I said that if I went back for my doctorate, it would only be Ivy League. Well, the Ivy League school I applied to did not agree with that. So
That's real. That happens.
yeah. So that's one thing. You got to have options. So I'm glad I did have an option, and I wanted to work in education. I had been in education in the classroom for a few years, and I wanted to take more of the admin role. And
Okay.
just doing the research, the ED for was fit more of my lifestyle for what I was going for. Um, the first day of class was really scary and very, I would say, difficult. I had picked Drexel. I had finished my master's in Philly, but that was at St. Joe's. So that's like, if you're in Philly, that's not Philly.
That's real.
So I picked Drexel, having never stepped foot on that campus. I just thought it was, okay, I'll just go there. So even just going down there and maneuvering through Philly traffic and, passing like the same Rocky statue every couple 5 minutes or so. So I got lost on the way there. I couldn't find parking. It took me like sat on the turnpike for like an hour and a half. Like it was just a whole
Oh,
bad thing. And then I finally made it to class and sat down. And I just got really scared. Like, oh my God, I'm actually in a doctorate program. All these people are going to be super smart and like snobby and stuck up and everything. And like that's not even me. So, but it turned out it wasn't as bad as I thought. So
okay.
yeah.
We appreciate everybody tuning in. Dr. Rise, hey man, keep doing great things down there, brother. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you on the Doc Chat next week, sir. We appreciate you. And future Dr. Ford, we appreciate you checking in, doing great things. We love it. We absolutely love it. Now, you both have told the exact reaction that happens a lot of times during the first. This is no birthday cake celebration. Beyonce and Jay-Z ain't coming out to say hello. This is a real nervous time starting these programs. And that's why we want to make sure we let folks know, be prepared going in the best that you can. You might have to do a dry run to the campus to see where you're going. You might have to make sure you're talking with your professors and everybody, that everybody has an idea of letting you know what you're about to come into. That's why we're having this show today, because this is the real talk. We want to make sure you're prepared. All right, Dr. Stokes, you're in the first semester. How did it go? And be honest with us, especially going and finishing that first year finally in your doctorate program. How did it feel?
The first year, the first semester, honestly, was the most challenging for me. I feel like that was when the imposter syndrome really just sat in. I remember a very vivid conversation I had with my advisor at the time, and I was like, I need help because I'm trying to figure out, how I can participate in class and not function or operate, think from a K-12 perspective, because that was what my
Mm.
career had been. I had planned to be in K-12 for the rest of my life, and I just felt so out of place with a lot of my classmates haven't had experience in higher ed or higher ed adjacent careers. So I was like a fish out of water. So the academic component was easy. I've always been good at school, but it's like the experiences were just not there for me. And I felt like that was the hardest thing, because hearing other people understand things so easily, be able to apply them to work or have references, personal like references of content. And I'm just kind of like, well, I know what the theory means. I can come up with a, scenario,
Yeah.
but I don't have any personal experiences that actually speak to this. So I think that was the hardest part about my first semester. And my first year, second semester, got much better. I got to do some interning at JSU, so that also helped grow my knowledge of higher ed and give me some practical experience. But that first semester, it was like a slap in the face.
Yeah. Yeah. And Dr. Stokes definitely is touching on the methods of research, the qualitative versus quantitative. And if I could break it down to you, your quantitative is definitely going to deal more with your numbers. Your qualitative is going to deal with your stories, your words. Mixed methods is a combination of both. We got to let you know this stuff because you're going to hit that first methods course and it might blow you away. That's what happened to me. It completely blew me away. Because let me tell y'all something. You're not usually talking about methodologies and all these different types of things in your regular conversation. So it's good to get a step up on that conversation, usually before you start the program. It's a big help. Now, Dr. Hankerson, going into your first semester, how did it go? And then going into that first year, how did you feel?
The first semester, I feel like it went pretty well. Our very first class, we had class Friday nights and Saturday mornings. So that was a whole thing
Okay.
in itself anyway. But the very first class Friday morning, after I finally made it to the classroom and everything, Friday night, as I should say, our professor, I mean, he was just great. He had been there for I think 30 plus years. You could tell he really loved his job. He wanted to make sure everyone was going to succeed, and he gave us a rundown of the program. And by the end of the night, everyone wanted him to be their advisor. He had to tell everyone I can't be everyone's advisor. So that was great. He set like a really good foundation for us. The second class, Saturday morning, not so much. Um, that was it was a research class, and I liked doing the research, but the professor, I don't know, she was just kind of, it's like she didn't want to be there. So that's not the thing that you want to deal with on a Saturday at 9 o'clock when you're sitting in a classroom. So I found that difficult because I come from the school of thought where you always sit in the front of the classroom, you always try to answer and participate in everything. And every time I would participate, she would just shoot me down to the point where my classmates were like, yo, just stop talking. She doesn't like you. So yeah, I mean, that was, that was whatever. I still got a lot of stuff from the class though, because I liked the material that we were doing. And that first year kind of went by very fast. The first year it almost had me thinking like, what, this is all about, like, I can do this. This is no problem. So that was not true.
Yeah, that's the trick they sell you, because coursework is easy, dissertation hard.
Yes.
And we're about to get into that. So going to Dr. Stokes, okay, you got that coursework wrapped up. Tell us about finding your chair, getting the right chair, and putting your committee together and going into, now, did you have a qualifying exam, or how did your dissertation proposal go? Let's jump into all that.
Okay, so I have to preface this conversation by saying that my PhD program was an executive PhD program. So it's a 24-month program. And so we do coursework and research simultaneously. So
That's good.
You start off with an advisor until you get to your candidacy point. And then once you get to your candidacy point, you get a chair. And so my advisor ended up remaining my chair. That was great for me. That doesn't always happen with everybody though. So after comps, we had a 2-part comprehensive exam, we had a written exam, and then we had to turn in our research proposal. So chapters 1, 2, and 3 as part of our comprehensive exam. After that, you get an email, hey, congrats, you passed. I'm like, yes, thank you, Jesus. But that's when it got like interesting. So almost immediately after, my chair now, he like, we had a discussion about my document, what it looked like, how I needed to improve it, if it was ready for me to actually defend it, who would be on my committee and why. So we talked about, of course, I had a qualitative study, so I had a qualitative research specialist on my committee. And then a couple of other faculty members that had relevant experience and could add, thought and knowledge to my research process. Sent them some emails. Hey, do you like me enough to be on my committee? And of course, you get a unanimous yes. And from that point forward, I ended up getting a proposal defense date a month after I submitted my comprehensive exam. But, everyone's situation isn't like that. I'm aware that some people have a little bit more of a process depending on, the status of their research proposals. But mine had been in the making for a few months. So I was actually able to, submit mine. But like I said, coursework and paper simultaneously. So that was a lot in itself.
Yeah. A lot of times that's the best way to do it. So, Dr. Hankerson, kind of how was your process? How did that go?
Well, my program was a 36-month program. I extended it. I'm a super senior. So we do 2 years of coursework where you're supposed to be preparing to do your dissertation. And then you spend the last year doing your dissertation. And mine happened, I started in 2017. So right when we had the year to do the dissertation is when everything shut down. So we had to deal with that part. My SP and I did not get along at first. The way they had their process is they have everyone write a summary of your dissertation of what you want to do, and then they send it out to the professors in the School of Education, and it's basically like a draft. Whoever picks you is that's your professor. So and it's supposed to be based on like similarities and research and stuff like that. But my research was on teachers using stand-up and improv in the classroom, which there weren't any professors that were focusing on doing stand-up comedy like I was on the weekends and stuff. So that was a big thing. And I wanted to do a quantitative study because my undergrad's in accounting, so numbers speak to me. However, I kept getting pushback from all the professors because there wasn't really anyone in the department who specialized in quantitative. So basically I kept getting, if you pick quantitative, it's going to be hard because there's not really anyone with like who specializes in that. All the professors were qualitative. So
Wow.
That was one thing. Yeah, I had to switch my methods, which I didn't want to do qualitative, but I also wanted to graduate. So that was that. And then picking the, I forget what they're called, my SP, and then the committee members. I found that to be hard also because like the first one is assigned to you. The second one, I do not think is assigned to you. And then the third one you have to find 2 of them. And I don't run in circles where I know massive doctors who can just be on my committee. So I really hit a wall with that point because I didn't have those resources. The only doctors I knew were the people in my cohort.
Yep.
So I really hit a wall with that. But thankfully, after my SP and I made up and got through the whole "it's not me, it's you" conversation, she helped me find 2 other committee members to help with that. And then I had to start the process. I rewrote my dissertation, I think. I mean, it was multiple times, but
wow,
like multiple edits. Like, here's the first 3 chapters. I feel great. Here you go. And then I get it back a month later. Like, no, that's No, that's not it at all.
Wow. Hey, this is the real talk. Let's make sure we got a question here. Just make sure, because sometimes we throw these acronyms out here. We will make sure. So SP is
Sorry, supervising professor. That's the chair of your dissertation committee. That's the person who you're going to work with one-on-one to get your dissertation ready for proposal.
That's it. That's it. And of course, it's different at different schools, different stuff. A lot of times, like at my institution, Indiana University, I picked my chair, and then my chair was like, I'm gonna let you know who's gonna be on your committee. Because sometimes, let's be honest, these professors don't like each other, and they know who they can work with to get you out, and they know who they do not want to work with, period. So we just want to make sure people understand it's different at different schools. It's better early to find out how your institution does it. Also, it's good to go in with an idea. And I want to go to Dr. Stokes on this. Did you know your idea from day one, or did it kind of shape as you were going through the program?
And by idea, do you mean like my research study? What did I know what I was going to study?
Yes.
Oh, I had no idea. When I did my application, the topic that I submitted was even different from what I decided to work on in my coursework. And I realized early on that my dissertation did not fully belong to me. And so I had
That's
to
real.
take the direction from, faculty, from my advisor at the time, and get out of my own head about what I thought was relevant to research and really focus on what was going on in the industry and what would be relevant to come out of the program I was in. And eventually I was able to kind of merge my master's degree with a higher ed research interest. And that was with the help of my advisor, but none of my own.
Good, good. We got another question. Keep the questions coming, folks. I love it. I love it. Feature Dr. LA says, is it good to prospect committee members at residency, or could prospecting in this way come off as thirsty? Now, I know a lot of times with individuals who are distance education type programs, that's the only time you see your committee members or possible committee members. I'm going to tell you myself, I'm going to give it to Dr. Hankerson, give her facts. Be thirsty, because that's when you see the folks. So that's when you want to go ahead and present yourself. Hey, I've seen the research you do. I want to work with you because I believe you could help my research. So Dr. Hankerson, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I would say, you don't necessarily have to be thirsty, but definitely introduce yourself, exchange contact info if you can, maybe a LinkedIn follow, just so that they know who you are and everything. So then when it comes time to send those emails like, hey, I need you to make this big time commitment to help me finish one of my goals, like then they'll be more, ready to say yes, hopefully.
That's good. Dr. Stokes, any words?
My program was a little different. So I would say in the event that you're in a program where mainly the faculty takes turns chairing or being on committees, in the event that you want someone external, because I had that option as well. If you want someone who's external to the program to serve on your committee, that's definitely a question you want to have with program admin to see what their thoughts on that are. And then two, you want to make sure that if the external person position, career, research experience has relevance to your study. So if your friend got a PhD in psychology, but you're getting a PhD in basket weaving, the relevance may not be there. And so your idea that you can kind of build your own committee may be null and void when the time comes. So I definitely think that, have an idea of who you'd want to be on your committee if in the event that your program allows you to have some external folks or allows you to kind of have a pick of who's allowed to be on your committee.
That's good. Now, this is another thing where also the next question I'm going to give is IRB, but we want to start with this. So the comprehensive exam, what was yours like, Dr. Stokes?
So for me, we knew when the comprehensive exam was. It was a one-day process, but it was an all-day process. So we had two parts, a morning part and an afternoon part, and both of those pieces were written. So we had theoretical questions and we had to answer them to the best of our abilities with no resources. So at that point, you've taken a certain number of classes and you should be able to address these issues and these theories and these scenarios based on the knowledge that you've gained thus far. The other part to that was just the submission of a document. So before you could sit down and take your exam, you had to turn in chapters 1, 2, and 3. So that's what I mean by the two-part. We had the actual proposal document to submit, and then we had to take the written exam. And it was all one day.
Okay. Now throw this over. Dr. Hankerson, doing a mixed research complemented, then doing either qualitative or quantitative. So basically, do you get more cool points for doing a mixed method over just doing one or the other?
I would say it all depends on the faculty in the program, because like I said, no one in my program was a quantitative person, so like you weren't getting any cool points for picking quantitative. They just saw it as like annoying. That's pretty much. Can I go back to the comp exam?
Sure.
Question? Okay. So my experience was we took our comp exams a year into our program. So they did give us the option for a practice exam, which I did, which I'm so glad I did do it, because they gave you real live feedback on everything. So then, because I know I would have made those mistakes in the real exam if I didn't take the practice exam. So that was a good experience. But ours was set up as Friday afternoon at 4:00. They released the comp exam questions, the case studies, and then we had to turn it in. We had to upload it by Sunday at 11:59. So we basically had Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday to write like a 30-page paper and use all of the info that we had for that we learned in the last year. So that was, stressful, but it got done in that weekend.
That's good. And mine was a bit different, where I got 3 questions and had a month to write them. Then I got a month from my committee members to go over those questions. Mm-hmm. And then I had to defend my answers to those questions. So different schools, different institutions, different at different places. Kind of going back to mixed methods question, it really doesn't, just get it done. It doesn't matter either way. As long as you get it done, that's all that matters. So these are very good questions. One other thing I want to bring up is IRB. So I'll go to Dr. Stokes. Did you had to complete an IRB? What was that process?
Yes, so I did have to complete an IRB. I actually had to complete a couple of them because I did not collect data from the institution that I received my doctorate from. So in order for me to fully be engulfed in the research process, I had to first get IRB approval from my home institution, and then I had to go get IRB approval from 2 different institutions. And then once they gave me approval, my institution was like, okay, we're going to green light you now, since they said yes. And then I could go ahead and collect research. So that was the process for me. And I do want to touch on the mixed methods, quant, qual. Depending on, the program, it really just depends on the faculty, the nature of the program, because I had an advisor, I have a program where they're like, the research will tell you what kind of methodology you'll pursue. Yeah. Some programs don't allow students the autonomy to say, I'm going to do quant, I'm going to do qual, I'm going to do mix. And they'll ask you, well, how do you know you're going to do this? What has research recommended for the next scholar to pursue? And so kind of think about that as well, because as you're, writing a literature review or, collecting artifacts and data from other research studies, they'll guide you in a good direction so you can kind of know what methodology you should pursue for your study.
That's good. So we have to make sure we're breaking down, because I know we're hitting this language real quick. So like we just talked about IRB, that's your institutional review board. Basically, that's human subject research. There are federal laws that you cannot interview anybody without getting a go-ahead backing from the institution that you're not only researching from, but sometimes if you're going to other types of institutions, they would do their own IRB where you would be able to come in and interview their individuals or give them surveys, collect information from them. You cannot do that on your own. Somebody has to clear you to be able to do that. All right. So we wanted to make sure we put that out there. We got another question. Keep the questions coming. Once again, I got Dr. Stokes, Dr. Hankerson. They answer your questions tonight about how to do this doctorate thing. So I'm going to go to Dr. Hankerson. This question for you. Do you have any tips regarding the process of the dissertation prospectus? And I want to add this on to another question that came, because can you turn your proposal be used to continue your dissertation? So go over what a dissertation or final project, what that looks like.
So with mine, I thought I had an idea when I first applied of what my dissertation was going to be about. It was real safe. It was in HR. That's what my concentration was. That's where I worked. That's what I was going to do. But in one of the early classes, I think the class where we did the fake lit review, we had to come up with a topic to look up for the fake lit review. But I didn't realize that this was actually for your dissertation. So I just typed in some random stuff like, oh, I wonder if anybody has researched teachers using stand-up comedy in the classroom. So like I use that as the practice lit review, but I found out in the next semester, like that's supposed to be your actual dissertation, and that's what you're going to be working on for the next year. So I kind of got like tricked into doing the dissertation process, but I had to go with it by then because I already had about 20 sources and everything. So I just had to keep going. So the process itself, you identify the problem, and you want to do the research to find ways to address the problem. So I'm sorry, I kind of got off thought just thinking about the whole process.
No, because that's what that doctorate thing, that's what that process would do. So yeah. You're talking about that dissertation. So talk about what those first 2 or 3 chapters look like before you defend your proposal.
Oh, the proposal. So the intro, the lit review, and chapter 3 was the methods, right? The lit review was the hardest one. You do the lit review, I think that was the second semester, and then the proposal isn't until a year and a half later. So you're supposed to just keep this lit review just there, and then once you get with your SP, then you're supposed to revise it and make corrections and everything. So doing the proposal, it took me, by the time I got to my proposal, like I said, my SP and I didn't get along at first. By the time I got to the proposal, many of my classmates had already defended, and they had already passed.
Yeah.
So it's all about. I know someone mentioned earlier about it's your research, not your SP's. It's not. It's your SP's dissertation, because they're gonna do what they want you to succeed. They want you to pass and everything.
Right.
But just don't go in with all these like grand romantic ideas about how you're going to do all this research that's going to change the world and stuff, because it's not. So I guess the best quote that I got was just get the dissertation done, and then you can do all the research and write all the papers you want after.
There you go. Dr. Stokes, your thoughts on the proposal, and go ahead and go into those final 2 chapters as well.
Okay, cool. So the way my program is set up, you're set up for your proposal to be a continuation of your dissertation. If you're working on a certain topic, you should be engaging with your advisor in your first year, your first 2 semesters, to make sure that whatever you're proposing is going to be viable. Now, if you're in like I said, a psychology program, but you want to write a research study on basket weaving, then you're in the wrong genre. Yeah. And so the process is, you cultivate, you build this proposal that addresses a certain issue in whatever your field is, and then you defend it so that you can get to the second part. So similar to Dr. Hankerson, our dissertations were structured proposal-wise, chapters 1, 2, and 3, the intro, the literature review, and then the methodology chapter. Once you have collected data and you're ready to write it up, you get to chapter 4, which is your findings. And so this is my favorite chapter because I feel like in any study, this is where you as an individual get to shine, because there's no 2 chapter 4s that are alike. Your study is unique to your demographic, your findings. It's just very unique. And so the idea is that you're supposed to be adding to the body of knowledge, so to speak. And so your study is supposed to be significant in a way. And then that leads to chapter 5, which is the concluding chapter, where you address how your findings relate to other research studies, if the ideas that you had initially still hold true. And then you are now an expert, so you can make recommendations for future studies. You can make recommendations for policy, for practice, and you can share what your final thoughts are about the strengths, the limits, and things of that nature. So 4 and 5 are my favorite. I feel like 4 and 5 were 4 was hard. Don't get me wrong. 4 was really hard.
Yeah.
4 was hard, but 4 was one of my favorites to write. I just felt, even though I shouldn't have, I just felt really connected to my participants, to my research content. So 4 was really, even though it was difficult, it was one of my favorite things to write. And then 5, to me, was a breeze, because at that point, it's like you mature. You start off kind of infantile, not really knowing what to do, where to go. And then by the time you get to 4 and 5, you feel more like an expert in the field of whatever you study.
That's good. That's good right there. So let's get to, let's see if I can get it pulled up here. Favorite part. All right. All right. So you hit that finish line. You got there. Tell us your thoughts, how you felt.
So it felt kind of weird. So kind of similar to Dr. Hankerson, the end of my process was stunned by COVID. And so we did not get, as a cohort, the pomp and circumstance of a lot of other doctoral students, because the world shut down and nobody knew what to do. And so my defense was virtual. I probably had one of the first virtual defenses of my program's history. And I didn't record it. And I'm so sad that I did not think to record it, but I had a house full of people, it was like 45 people that attended my dissertation defense. And immediately after, I think me and my mom may have like went to brunch or something, but like it was so weird because nobody was outside. And so the celebratory part of it was just not there. I also didn't get to get hooded. And that was really important to me, like the sentimental moment, having that experience with my chair and stuff. But there was a sense of completion, but also a sense of, what am I supposed to be doing now? A lot of PhD programs have students to take, like get into faculty roles or do some sort of postdoc, but that was not the nature of my program. It was kind of like, we prepare you to be executives and admin, so you need to go figure out how to be an executive and admin now.
Yeah. And that's all real talk. All real talk. There's different avenues you can go, and we want individuals to know that. Definitely so sorry you didn't get to that hooding part. It sounds special, but I will let you know, I tell people this, you can still do it in your own way. Sometimes it's just better that way. Get your folks together. Like, I didn't have a hooding, so I'm going to have a hooding. Also, you say you did it on Zoom? So,
well, we use Google Meet, so.
That's why. Okay. Because I was about to say it could have been in a cloud somewhere, but yeah, that was always a tough time, because you want to have your moment the way you want to have your moment. So, hey, I would say definitely have somebody go hood, see if they will allow that class to come back. It's worth it. Definitely worth it. All right. And let's go to Dr. Hankerson. Tell us about your moment. Get in there, get into that finish line.
Well, ours was on Zoom also, for the proposal and for the defense. So that kind of, took the whole, I guess, urgency out of it, because I wasn't standing. I've still to this day never met my SP in person. So that's one thing. But they did allow us to invite anyone we wanted to the Zoom. And then when they did, like after I defended, and they sent us all to a different room while they discussed my dissertation and everything. But yeah, it was 2021, so there wasn't really much celebration stuff going on at that time. So it was kind of just like, wow, I'm done. All right, I'm gonna go get a manicure and pedicure now. So that was that. I did have a party though, because I had a milestone birthday that same year, and I got tickets to see Genesis that same year. So I had a birthday. But we didn't have a hooding ceremony either. The year after, in 2022, they offered it to us to combine the 2021 and 2022 classes, but they were only allowed like 2 guests for each student. So that kind of I don't know, that kind of messed any like celebration plans up, because you can only invite 2 people. So like, how do you decide which 2 people to invite? So I just didn't even end up going. And we still have a group chat with our cohort. So I think there were a few people that went, but there were most of us. I mean, they had finished almost 2 years earlier. I had finished a year earlier. So by that time it was kind of like, all right, we're done. Like, let's not go back to that.
Yeah. And even my graduation, it was in an empty stadium. All your graduates, no people could come because it was 2021, it's COVID. So it was a blessing to still have it. But yeah, it kind of lost that luster. That luster went there, you know what I'm saying? So, all right. So let's get this pulled up, see if it pulls up here. All right. So we got somebody went viral out here, folks. She went viral in these streets. And we have to talk about this incredible article. Tell us what it meant to write this, how this came about, and tell us about these tips.
Okay, so it was an accident. No, I was not intending to go viral or garner any attention with the article. I have a relationship with one of the editors at Mississippi Free Press, and we always talk about like different things to share. And I'm really passionate about education and paying it forward. And I'm like, is anybody addressing higher ed, with this publication source? And I kind of found my way to kind of segue into publishing opinion pieces about higher ed through this source here. And so I think what a lot of people miss about the doctoral process is just the practicality of it. And everything is so technical, and what does the book say and what does research say? And I feel like sometimes what's missing is just, how did you survive? What were the basic things that I need to know or do? And so when I put this piece together, it was more so just about sharing my practical experience, being a little bit transparent, but also trying to share with other people how they can approach the doctoral process, however long their program is, or however they may be feeling, wherever they may be at, and then also share some resources. I feel like I was surrounded by a wealth of knowledge. I had friends pursuing doctorate degrees that had just finished doctorate degrees, and they were extremely supportive. And so I thought to myself, what way can I help future and aspiring students? And I just felt like the article was a good way to give some quick tips, tricks, and kind of affirmation about people who are in the pursuit of their PhD.
You know that. And folks going for their EDD, Dr. Hankerson, what tips would you give them?
Okay, so I have a couple tips. The first one would be to go to class. I know a lot of EDD programs are part-time accelerated programs. So, I mean, there's probably a school within 20 miles of you that offers an ED program. So I would say just look at the schools that are local to you so you can actually go to class. I mean, I know online is like the big thing right now, but I just feel like I made such good relationships with people just by spending Friday nights and Saturday mornings in classrooms with them. I think that, made all the difference. Another tip would be, don't be that group member. I'm not sure about other programs, but our program was filled with group work, which, let's be honest, nobody likes group work. We're all adults here.
Tell us about it.
No one has time to do group work and everything, but it's a part of the process. It has to be done. So when your group decides on a day and time to meet, be there. Don't be the one who's on the phone, like who's driving in the car. Don't be the one who's like getting a haircut or who's at the beach during the group meeting, because it's just distracting to everyone else who doesn't really want to be there anyway. Let's see. Oh, and also stick with the same group members. Um, our first semester, we just randomly picked some people in our classroom for a group. We found that we worked well together and our schedules worked together. So for the rest of the program, we were all in the same group. So that definitely helped a lot.
Yeah.
Let's see. Kind of know what you want to do in real life with your degree. I will admit that I initially wanted to teach in higher ed. But if I would have done my research, I would have known that I should have went for a PhD and not an ED if I wanted to teach in higher ed. So that was my mistake that I learned the hard way. Like I said earlier, just do what your SP, your supervising professor, says. I mean, by the time she was done with my dissertation, I felt like it wasn't even mine, but whatever, I'm done. So you just have to go. I kept arguing back and like, no, I want to do this. I have this vision. It's like she didn't care about my vision. And I guess the number one tip would be to make a schedule and stick to it. You're it's I was working full time. I was going to school. I was doing comedy on nights and weekends. So I had to make a schedule. And if Friday night at from 8 to 10 is the only time you can do laundry, then you better be doing laundry from Friday to 8 to 10, because the rest of your week is filled up. You don't have any other choice.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. And we kind of want to make sure folks realize we're not saying it's not your own. This is your own idea. As Dr. Stowe talked about that chapter 4, that is what you're giving back to the world. That research is what you have created from your idea. But they're saying it's not really your own because you have 3, 4, 5 doctors already that have to sign off on your dissertation. And so sometimes they might throw a couple things in there because when they search your dissertation and find it, guess what? Sometimes if their book is in there that they've written, that gives them some hits. I've had a chair, well, not a chair, but I had a dissertation member that did that. You might think, oh, I'm cranking out all of this. I got 250 pages worth of dissertation I'm putting out there. You might whittle that thing down to 180. And guess what? If that's what they cool with, that's what they cool with. The other stuff, maybe you can put in your own document or article later on down the line. Just be cool with it. Just roll with it. So we're not telling you, it's not your own just to kind of scare you, but we're letting you know there's some folks that got their name on it and they not putting their name on bull crap. They're not. They want it good because their name is going to be on it. Dr. Stowe?
And to that point, Dr. John, I also want to iterate to the group that you can absolutely advocate for things that you think are important or valuable to your research study. In no way, shape, or form do you have to just take everything that they say. And so, especially if you're doing the research, if you are, you're committed to the process, what other research articles are saying, what's happening in the industry. So you can absolutely defend what you've come up with, and it can ride. And so I would have conversations in my personal experience with my chair, like, well, this addresses this. I'm confident in this. I know this for a fact based on X, Y, and Z. And so sometimes what your committee will do is make a strong recommendation.
There you go.
And sometimes that's all it is a strong recommendation. And as strong as it may be, it is not a mandate. It is a recommendation. And so in that way, you can absolutely take ownership of your document, but also understand that there are so many other contributors whose names will be listed, like Dr. Turner said, will be listed in your final dissertation. And it's important that you represent that content or those studies and those people appropriately. You don't want to get your dissertation published or get an article published and it not be in alignment with what the original research addressed.
That's right. And it's not going to be phenomenal work. It's not going to be your absolute best work. It's done. You just got it done. That's showing, hey, I did go through this doctorate program and got it done. And you might have to get an editor. You might have to pay for an editor. And it's okay. It's fine. If you're going in with this chip on your shoulder, like I'm the greatest thing since, oh, Jesus Christ, to come out here and get this doctorate degree, when you walked in there and you don't let anybody tell you how to better yourself in these programs, it's going to be real hard to get done. Real hard. Just go in like really you are here to learn. You're a student, and I promise you, you'll get through a lot easier. A lot easier. Dr. Hankerson, any tips, any other words?
I definitely got an editor. So that was like, she was great. I think she lived across the country from me. But I just emailed her all the documents and everything, and she was great. The school, they can't offer editors, but they give suggested editors. But I found mine on Upwork, so that was good. And also, I just saw that someone said that you can ask to switch SPs. Collectively, we agreed this was our hardest professor of the program. He told us that if you switch your supervising professors, then you're going to be labeled as being difficult and no one will want to work with you. So that kind of like put the fear into us. And this was, I think, a semester before we got our assignments. So that kind of put the fear into us, like, okay, we can't switch. But my SP and I got to the point where I was like, I think we need to see other people. And I said, but am I going to be labeled as difficult? And she was like, yeah, you will be. Yeah. If you switch. So I guess that's all up to the individual person. Like by that time, I was watching all of my cohort finish and defend, and I just wanted to be done. I was pushing 4 years on a 3-year program. So
yeah, you just want to get out of there. So as you see, folks, an hour goes by quick when you're having fun here. Got Dr. Stokes, Dr. Hankerson, phenomenal questions. They gave phenomenal real talk insights. This is the real deal. So we're going to go to Dr. Stokes. What is it now that you're done? What does it feel like on the other side? And what would you tell somebody starting out what they should know?
Now that I'm done, like I mentioned earlier, I'm just really interested in paying it forward. So I spend a lot of time mentoring and advising new, current, and aspiring doctoral students.
Nice.
And I still have a really good relationship with my chair. So I found ways to, volunteer with the doctoral program, create resources for those students. And so over the years, I may have started out with, a literature review document to support them in that way, because literature review can be very difficult for people who've never completed one before. And so now I'm hosting the literature review session every year for every cohort. And it's been like that since 2019. So I've done that consistently. I really do enjoy doing that, building the relationships with other doctors and doctors to be. And I'm also really focused on publishing. So with some EDD, PhD programs, publications are a part of the process. You graduate with publications, and that was not the nature of my program. You publish after. You focus on your document and then you publish after. And so now that I'm done, I have more time to dedicate to reading and writing. And so I definitely want my name to be a part of the academy. And so I've tried to dedicate some time to publishing. So I published a few opinion pieces. I have somewhat like a theoretical paper and also a research paper. I just published my research this year. So that was pretty cool. But essentially my focus now is just figuring out ways I can support people inside and outside of the academy and do things that interest me, since I have more time to.
We love it. And Dr. Hankerson, kind of your final thoughts on, wow, I finally got over that hump. I'm out here now. How's life now? And kind of some tips maybe you would give that one student who's just starting their doctoral journey.
Well, one tip I would give someone who's just starting is not to be intimidated by the rest of the people in your cohort, in your class. Like I said, my first day, I was like, oh my God, everyone's smarter than me. Everyone has a better job than me. Everyone makes more money than me. So that like really got to me at first, but eventually you just have to get over that and realize that everything happens when it's supposed to. Now I actually took the research that I did for my dissertation, and I developed a training course for teachers to teach them stand up and improv to use in a classroom. I got it approved for professional development credits for the Pennsylvania Department of Education. So now I'm focusing on trying to get that training out there, because I know teachers in general don't like professional development, but I feel like my professional development brings something different to the table. So that's what I'm actually using, what I did in my dissertation. So that feels great.
We love it. We love it. Hey, folks, it's Dr. Stokes here, Dr. Hankerson, that came with the real deal about getting the doctorate degree. I got a doctor here from the HBCU, a PhD, and another doctor here, the EDD from PWI. We doing it. We doing it. And it's a blessing to see great doctors doing great things. So we're going to let Dr. Stokes let us know where folks can find you. Folks actually somebody asked where they can find your article. Tell us where anybody wants to contact you, where they can check you out at.
Okay, so a couple things. I have a website. I'm in the process of revamping it. I'm doing my own website myself. So there's some information there as well. But if you want to find me on Instagram, I'm on Instagram at Dr. Stokes. I think it's _ Dr. Stokes. I don't know why I don't know my Instagram name by heart. But if you want to connect with me professionally, LinkedIn is absolutely the place to do that. So my name on LinkedIn is Ariana C. Stokes, PhD. And if you want access to that article, it is available on my LinkedIn page in the publication section. And you can also find it by Googling Mississippi Free Press, Dr. Ariana Stokes, and all of the articles that I've written that address HBCUs, higher education, and the PhD process are available on that library on Mississippi Free Press's website.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And Dr. Hankerson, where can folks find you?
Sorry, as soon as you said that, I started to look at my Instagram to see what my name was. I don't remember.
It's all right. It's all right. And you gotta let us know where your next show is. We might want to come see some stand-up. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So my favorite social media is LinkedIn, so you can find me on there. My business page is Dr. J's Comedy Milieu, so you can go there and find the links to all the other socials. You can stay up to date. My business focuses on combining comedy and education, so my next show is a real estate trivia show. Anyone interested in buying, selling, or investing in real estate, I made a trivia show for it, so you can come to check it out and see what you know.
That's all right. That's all right. Hey, Dr. Adams, I'm telling you, man, we know it's a struggle, but we're going to rise. Everybody's going to rise. You can do this doctorate thing. I'm telling you, I had some heavy hitters on tonight that told y'all the real deal about it. Dr. Ariana Stokes, Dr. Janier Hankerson, thank you both so very much. Great doctors here. Make sure you find them on LinkedIn. Connect with them. Ask them questions. They're here for you to support you. And until next time on the Doc Chat, I'm telling you, tomorrow night, we got a big one. We talking about sex health, sex education, and all those things. You don't want to miss as I'm bringing on great doctors to talk about a great topic. So until then, thank you all so much for checking us out. All the commenters, all the questions. And until next time on the Doc Chat, we say peace out, everybody.